Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the regular council meeting of June the 26th, 2023. Just so everyone knows, members of the public can be present in the council chambers during the meeting. And also, please note that the webinar will be recorded and published to the city's YouTube site. First item on the agenda tonight is the adoption of minutes. So we have two sets of minutes before you. First one is the Governance and Operations Committee meeting of June the 12th, 2023, and the regular council meeting of June the 12th, 2023. The recommendation is that the minutes of the Governance and Operations Committee meeting and the regular council meeting, both held on June the 12th, 2023, be adopted as circulated. Can I have someone make that motion, please? Councillor Wilson?
Yep.
Councillor Hanson?
No, I'd like to make an amendment to the minutes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, in the recreation fee bylaw, Councillor Martin and myself did not support it, and it said voted unanimously.
Oh, okay.
So just a correction,
Yeah.
please.
Okay, thank you. Any other corrections or errors or omissions? No? Okay. So, can I make someone make that motion with the friendly amendment? So, Councillor Hanson, Councillor Benson, second. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. I see no one here for public question period. So I'll move on to item number 3. The 2021 and 22 annual reports, and I'll pass this on to CAO McClure, please.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. So one of the important parts of the year is when municipality gets the financial statements, but what also is important, I think, is the annual report. And financial statements of themselves are a key thing, need to be audited, which ours are, has a clean audit opinion, both years do. The key on this is a key document for council and for the community. And a lot of effort goes in to kind of recognize, as you look at items that are usually, can be 18 months after they've already happened, whether or not it's a building being done or there's other work that's been completed by staff and by council. But it's to take back, you look at the photos, you kind of get an idea of some of the work that's been done, but it's also an accountability component of talking about where the financials are, what happened during the year. And so, in particular, this year's a bit of an anomaly. The community charter does say that we have to have the annual report provided to council and for the community before the end of June each year. Now, 2021 is coming now, so obviously that's a year late. We had some real challenges with turnover in staff and did not get the audited financial statements done for 2021 until December. And we also had some more challenges with health concerns with some staff. So it was decided that as we were coming into this year that we would just bring them together, kind of compile both of them. Again, the document itself wants to talk about the municipal objectives and kind of what got completed during the year, and also recognizing that those carry on, usually carry on. Most cases, these municipal objectives are not going to be annual, but they're going to be your strategic goals when we get to that point, and they will be something that we together, council and then as staff, are able to look at, to see what the progress is for the strategic priorities that we do each year. Again, right now, we're sort of a little bit behind on the fact that this council is looking at financial statements that really had nothing to do with as far as 2021, 2022, because you just came in November or October of 2022. But idea being here is that as we move forward, council will, like I said, be setting those strategic directions. We'll have the municipal objectives on top of this, plus the financial statements, and we can report that out to the community. It doesn't go any further than the community in the sense that you don't have to send it down to the province. Most documents we do, like the actual audited financial statements, were sent down to the province in the correct time. Same with the zoning report, once we get through that today, that will also be sent down to the province because those will have to be, kind of put in their library for information, and that each municipality has met those goals. That being said, a couple of the things that are important here in 2022, we had some highlights and I kind of spoke to my report, other than the great photos, and I want to have a shout out for Andrea Jolly. She did a great job for 2022, and very grateful that she was able to step in and do that. But one of the key components here is to talk about the successes. And a lot of times we don't, and sometimes it's also an opportunity to say, here are some of the things we haven't gotten to. But the city itself, in 2022, started to see a rebound of some of the activities because you're an entrepreneurial city. When I think about you have your own recreational facilities, a lot of other ones have them kind of grouped together with a regional district, but that's not the case here, although we do get some support from some of our neighbors. In most cases, that's an opportunity for the city to create programming to drive usage of the buildings, and we certainly saw a huge drop, as one can imagine, when the facilities closed down in 2020, and they started to increase in 2021. But it's 2022 where we started to see the numbers starting to get right back up to an area where you'd say pre-pandemic range. That's the same thing for the airport. So when you have something like the airport as part of your operations, that is entrepreneurial in the sense that you're trying to bring economic activity to your community, you're wanting to promote the community, and COVID shut that down basically. And to start to see the numbers coming back, and coupled with our partner who's at the airport, Pacific Coastal, they've been able to, with the use from our community, which is such a valuable asset for transportation, have also increased the number of flights they're having per day, and they're looking at improving that. And that has been telling out in the numbers that we're seeing, because there's a passenger fee component that comes for the city to Pacific Coastal. And we're starting to see those numbers really start to recover from where they were, which is a good not only for obviously the finances of the city trail, but good for the area that we've got a very high functioning and reliable airport service in the area. So those are a couple of real highlights. Again, for 2022, one of the things that was sort of unexpected for many of us, those of you that maybe had a variable rate mortgage, when all of a sudden within 9 months your mortgage went up about 3.5%. That was quite a shock. Now, not great for maybe the mortgage holder, but because the city has quite a bit of money on deposit or in surplus, that really drove some increases in interest income that we earned for the city, which again helps take the pressure off of budgets and off the taxpayer as well. So we saw that going, and it's been kind of a flat this year, but again, we're up at a much higher number than we were previous year. So that helped us in our budgeting for 2023. Again, always good to note that we get small community grants. So the small community grant is an unconditional grant that comes from the city, from the province. And this year they also did an additional one-time limit of $125,000. So that certainly helped our bottom line. And the other part is that we get a share of the traffic share revenue. So it's not based on how many tickets are within your community. So it's not you can have a very overzealous RCMP officer, but all of a sudden you see this huge increase in revenue. It doesn't work that way. It's collected by the province, and then from where those numbers are, they provide that to the city. That was pretty much in line with budget. Not surprising, because we have heard from our great sergeant, Staff Sergeant Dusinowich, on the challenges he's been having, not just here, but across the province on staffing levels for our CMP. And because we are a proponent of that and we're over a certain threshold of population, we have to pay a portion of our 75% of our CMP. But because the numbers have been low, that's one of the reasons if you're looking at our financial statements and you look at both 2020 and 2021, you will notice that protective services is lower than what was budgeted. Component of that obviously is the fact that they has not been able to have full staffing. Now again, that's not just Trail. Trail is one of the, obviously a community that has a challenge with it, but it is across the province. In fact, it's across the country as far as getting proper members and even new recruits in and out on the field. So that's certainly something that was a cost saver. Now in the same boat that we talked about Parks and Rec having some great revenues, but sometimes they also come with a cost. So if you need to have another lifeguard on because you get so many more people at the pool, those are sort of things that drive up some of the costs that we have. But in the most part, we got most of the expenses were in line with what was budgeted. One of the things that's important was just to talk about the restoration of the old library building. That was completed in this year, in 2022, and we had a grant, which again, one of the things that council should be proud of is the fact of staff going out and finding these grants. So if you've got a project that's going to cost you $1.7 or $1.4 million and you get $700,000 grant, the 50 cent dollars really help the taxpayer, and again have turned space that was the old library. Now we have a new beautiful library space. We now have a new opportunity for, there's classes that people rented out, and I think there's ping pong in there, which again is surprising sometimes, but it's again, another facility for the community, a taxpayer funded facility, and that's now in service, and again, thanks to a grant, 50% of that was recovered. One of the things that's super challenging one is Butler Park. For anybody that's been around and knew that the windstorm kind of blew through and took out the light standard at the building. And we've just had sort of setback after setback, not a purposely thing, but the fact is that supply chains have caused grief, not only with COVID, but also with other community, other entities or countries shutting down because of COVID. But the lights, if you ever go there now, you'll see that some are up and some are not, and there was a bit of a mistake in some of the engineering, and we're getting that rectified, but that's really eliminated that from getting done in 2022. Again, idea here is that will be completed in 2023. I know that there may be some that may be doubting that, but that is the plan, that's the goal. The daycare, we did get a grant to be fully funded. I've had some troubles with design. Again, cost escalation has really put the cost per square foot on a building like that, which is quite surprising to me, but that is what we're dealing with. So we've had a redesign with the architect. We're going out and we'll be looking for, once this slide is sort of finished and we meet with the ministry, the hope is that we can get an RFP out, if possible. That would be something that we get started in 2023 in the fall here. If not, we may wait, because it's not always the best to build during winter time. We may get it started in 2024. And that's not great for those that have kids that are waiting to get into this, but we've been challenged with, not only in others that have been trying to deal in the construction industry, just with the cost escalation and again, just the busyness of our contractors. It's sort of, by what I've been on that, I've already got 5 projects, so that makes it hard. So we'll see how that goes here in 2023. Again, some major upgrades on the utility side, the Milligan Avenue water main and replacement, and Birch Avenue sewer main were done in 2022. And one thing that I think was really key, we talked a bit about the benefit of the interest income being higher than budgeted, and we got that one-time funding that came from a small community grant, and some other benefits of revenues being higher than what was budgeted. That allowed for this council to make a decision to take what was like a higher surplus and putting $300,000 into the old bridge reserve, which I think is very wise. And I think that as we build on that, because not only did we do that, but we did budget to continue to put some funds in each year. And again, that's something that we will look at year by year. If there's another time that maybe we can add a lift, that's something we can consider. Idea being that we get a nice pot of money there, so that when the day comes and we can maybe get a grant and you've got your matching funds already sitting in a reserve earning some income, so that there's not a big hit to the taxpayer. It is one of those, I think, prudent moves when you kind of get that one-time additional fundings that you're not expecting in a year, to put it away in a reserve for that opportunity that will come along to further a project that you want to do, and yet take the pressure off the taxpayer. Again, we pretty strong on overall on the financials. We do have quite a bit of debt, but we are dropping that as we make those principal payments each year. And one of the things that can be positive is that a lot of that debt is at a lower rate, because it was, it's a number of years ago. It will be interesting to see what happens when it resets after 10. So that may be a challenge for us a bit in the future. But we are certainly the beneficiaries of a beautiful walking bridge, fantastic riverfront center, and those sorts of things. You've got some great assets here that are to show for those dollars that were spent. And again, for both this year and last year, the city is committed. We understand that there's pressure. We understand that not only is the city hit for the inflation, but so is the community, so are the residents. So we want to make sure that our tax increases are justified, and that we are good stewards of the funds that are provided to us in the community. Those were, again, some of my comments. I can go through 2021, same sort of idea. You can read my commentary on that. I just want to speak to 2022 because I was here for most of it, not all of it. But that I'm confident that we're working towards, making sure that we are cognizant of the services that we're providing, and making sure that we're doing them in an efficient and a manner that is sustainable.
Awesome. Okay. Any questions or comments for Colin? Councillor Hanson.
I just wanted to say what an outstanding job, and it's very well appointed, and thank you for the detailed information, very much appreciated.
I too wanted to thank CAO McClure and staff for the hard work and energy and time I know you put into these reports, and it's really a really nice report. The pictures are beautiful, they show our community so well, and I hope people take the time to read the report, because it's very informative and lots of good stuff in there. So council, just checking on Councillor Cashel here.
That photo with the Northern Lights, I don't know,
Yeah,
that is unbelievable.
I know the
I don't know if it
colors.
was fake, but it's upstairs.
Okay, so the recommendation before you is that council of the city of Trail receive and approve the 2021 and 2022 annual reports, and that the reports be retained and made available for public inspection. Councillor Benson, Councillor Martin, all those in favor? Opposed, carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. 3.2, the 2022 Statement of Financial Information. Councillor, or CAO McClure.
Yes. Okay, so this is a document that, again, mandated by the province, and one of the things, main purpose is transparency. And when we talk about that, in what has to be reported on this, there's a list of a number of items. Financial statements are included. Because they were in the annual report, I didn't also put them into the SOBI because it just sort of makes it redundant, but they will become part of that when they go into the province. And part of it, again, right off the bat, is its management report. So this is something that I'm taking responsibility for creating. And it has a threshold, and that's the component is that you need to list out who your elected officials are and what expenses they have. And then any employee that earn over $75,000 and their related employment expenses. And on top of that, any vendor that we had over $25,000 that we had spent on a particular vendor. Again, transparency here, you would want to see, hey, why is one individual councillor got way more income than another? Or, hey, wait a second, to the public, because they don't really kind of look in and see. But if they were like, hey, this councillor had $40,000 in expenses, that would be something that you would be able to come and ask questions to as far as the public is concerned. We don't have that as a problem. That's that transparency. And again, noting those that earn over that $75,000. They haven't changed that in so many years. The list is continuing to get longer. I wonder at one point in time whether or not they bumped that threshold up on the wage side. But today, you can see those are our employees and they're valued. And sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but it is one of the responsibilities of the municipality to comply with that. That's why we have it there. We just don't do it for any reason. We do it because we're mandated to do it. And the other part too, on the 25,000 for the threshold for vendors. Again, as much as people want to maybe look and see, where we're spending the money, which I think is important. It also would say, for example, there's Domino's Pizza at $25,000 or $50,000. That might be a question that probably would want to know what was going on with that. That's not again the case here, but it's just some of the things that it's important, allows the public to get a look inside what is happening. And what you will also note for me is how many round dollars. And when I say round dollars, when you've got a local entity, whether it's a contractor, we're paying them out of the tax dollars that maybe their business is paying, but they're then hiring people in the community who are then buying homes, paying their taxes, and I really think that that's important. I think that there's when you look through this, you will know that there are many here that are entities that are local, so we like to keep that tax dollars local where we can. The other part down at the bottom is being able to show kind of grants. It's sort of on the last page of the document under the total payments and grants contributions. You can see there's some grants that the city provides, and that's sort of different than your vendor providing service. There are places where we are actually giving grants. So a couple of other things that I think is important on this document, because when someone compares what's happening, and that's why they require the basically the reconciliation page. And so it says, okay, here's your remuneration. here's your payments for goods and services. Here's how much money you paid in the year for 2022. Oh, hey, wait a second. The financial statements say that your expenses were only $23,000, or 24 million, I should say, and you got 25 million in cash. So that's one of the pieces that's happening here is twofold. We've got some of the bullet points there, but just to be clear, people are looking at it. It's the fact that I may buy an asset that costs $1 million, and we have to pay for that, so we pay the $1 million out to the vendor. But as an expense, say it was on a 10-year amortization, only 100,000 of that asset would actually be expensed each year. So then there would be that gap of, hey, you got $100,000 in amortization expense in the financial statements, but you've actually paid the vendor the $1 million. So that's why you've got kind of a cash flow, which is what the Sophie is saying, is that here's what you paid during the year for whatever activities, and again, those activities will include GST. And again, when we do ours, we were able to get a rebate on that. So yes, you're paying out the GST, but you are actually expensing net of GST because you get a refund for it. So just some of those things when someone's looking at the statements. I did look back at last year's, and which I found kind of fascinating was that it was almost the opposite, where financial statement expenditures were higher than what the payments were. And a lot of times that can happen when you've got an asset or something is an expense that's happened as far as the financial statements are concerned, but we didn't pay for it until, say, February or something like that. So you've got these things crossing over at the year end, sort of for cash flow. But that's just one of those parts of the document that you need to put in, is that reconciliation to explain why is it that the financial statement expenses don't match with what the Sophie expenses are. Again, happy to take any questions that someone might have on this document.
Seeing no questions, so the recommendation before you is that council of the City of Trail approve the statements and schedules included in the City of Trail Statement of Financial Information for the year ended December 31st, 2022, and proceed in accordance with the Financial Information Act. Someone make that motion, Councillor Wilson, and second, Councillor Benson. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Hanson. Did you get that?
I got it.
Sorry, guys. All those opposed? Seeing none, carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, on to our bylaws. Bylaw number 4.1. I don't know. Did you want to speak to this, CM Leclerc? I know that's for third reading their adoption.
It's for adoption, so at this stage, I think that we sort of explained that this has come forward. We talked about it at the last meeting. Basically, what happens is that the document or the fees are kind of calculated to sort of happen starting in September, kind of running September until the spring, and then you kind of get that updated. You run for the year or safety in most cases. It's that whole idea of what's going to happen to the leisure guide. We need to know what the prices are because it bridges over the year end. That's why we do it now in preparation for the fall leisure guide. And again, council has had this, and we're at the stage now where we're at adoption.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no questions or comments, I will move into the recommendation, and the recommendation is that the Trail Recreation Fee Bylaw Amendment Bylaw number 2023 be adopted. All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Yeah, did someone make that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Phipps. Councillor Wilson seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. So we do have a second bylaw here, but because our public hearing has been delayed, we won't move forward with this bylaw amendment either. Okay, so we're on to council committee reports, and first up is Councillor Benson.
No report today.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Butler is sending his regrets. Councillor Cashel. Sorry, can't hear you, Councillor Cashel.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. I just have a few updates for council and listeners. On June 13, I attended by Zoom a supportive group, housing group meeting, and participated in that. Going forward, I am pleased to report that Councillor Hanson will serve as a council rep on this committee with Mayor Jones. Councillor Hanson is our housing expert, and she has an excellent track record of sharing information. So I'm happy, and thank you, Councillor Hanson, for stepping up to the plate and participating in that supportive group, housing group. On June 14, Councillor Butler and myself were invited by Mayor Jones to attend a meeting with Sergeant Mike Wasinowicz, the detachment commander, and also Staff Sergeant Jason Burndred out of the Nelson office. He's the advisor in NPO. So Staff Sergeant Burndred shows up here every 6 months to do a biannual kind of update with city staff and council on how the process of decentralization is going. I don't have a lot to say on that other than what decentralization looks like. It's the detachment will be returning back to the Staff Sergeant. And the thing that I like about decentralization, it gives the local detachment commander more autonomy and more control over local matters. So it's heading in that direction, which I think is probably a good thing. There was several, items discussed, some of which I think I've already relayed to you by report. But the takeaway on it, the actionable takeaway, is that the detachment commander will be going forward reporting to open council quarterly. This was a practice, I understand, that was in place prior to the pandemic. So we're going back to that old practice, which I totally support. And Sergeant Wasinowicz will be reporting to council this September. On June 16, I had an opportunity to attend a luncheon talk with Minister Ravi Canlin in Kelowna. The background on that is my daughter works for Urban Development Institute. She knew I was coming over to Kelowna, so she secured me a ticket. So I attended this conference, or this luncheon, at no cost to the city. Minister Canlin expressed great support for depoliticizing the municipal approval process for new developments. He recognizes that we are in a housing crisis, and the need to build higher density outweighs concerns over NIMBYism. He referenced the Housing Supply Act, which will direct municipalities to streamline their OCPs to encourage higher density builds. And at some point, this will allow up to 4 homes to be built on a single family lot. Minister Canlin also spoke about using government property held by municipalities, school boards, and health authorities to offer land that could be used for affordable housing. Continuing on here, I did meet on September the 21st in person by invitation with the Society for the Protection and Care of Seniors. I will put on record that this committee is advocating for the resurrection of the Senior Advisory Committee, and I will be looking for staff support and direction on this going forward. On September the 21st, I attended in person the library board meeting. And the highlight of that meeting for me was just listening to and getting to meet the 3 summer students who are doing the BC Summer Storytime at the library. Very engaging, very enthusiastic, just an incredible opportunity to meet these 3 incredible individuals. And we're very lucky to have them there at the library. On June the 23rd, I participated in a meeting along with Mayor Jones, Councillor Butler, and Councillor Benson with the Trail CCAT Society Trail Community Action Team. We met at the shelter, did a tour of that and a walk around town, and we ended up going back to the meeting held at the Selkirk College. The takeaway on that was at the very end of the meeting, Dr. Pollock expressed a need for us to start planning a cooling center and to have that ready for when a public health order is likely to be made in that regard. Melissa Klein, the health community facilitator for Interior Health has agreed to take the lead on that. And she did set up a meeting. I'm getting almost done, which was I attended to this morning by video link. The meeting was to be centered on the cooling center and to come up with a game plan to get one started here or get one going for trail. But the entire meeting was focused on the opioid crisis and the overdose epidemic that's happened here in the last 5 days. We've had 35 overdoses recorded in the city. And so the entire 18 stakeholders at this meeting were just focused on coming up with a plan for that. And that concludes my report, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cashwell. Any questions? Okay. Councillor Hansen.
We had the Trail Health and Environment Committee meeting, our quarterly meeting, June 15th. We had a great presentation from Claire Nord from Tech. We had a great working group with it about different plans with the Minister of Environment and Climate Change Strategy, as well as other groups as well. Then we actually had the 21st to the 23rd, and I unfortunately was unable to attend anything after the 21st, but we had a great tour with, we had the Deputy Minister of Environment here, we had Assistant Deputy Minister of Environment, Assistant Deputy Minister of Health, we had a bunch of other supports from both Minister of Health, SNC-Lavalin, Tech, Ministry of Environment as well, plus community members. Councillor Butler came, CM Clerk came with Mayor Jones, and we had a great tour, understanding our community and helping, you know, the people that work with the Trail Health and Environment Committee understand that are all parts of the pieces of the puzzle, that we're not a file on someone's desk, we're a community. And so it was really about community relationship building and understanding the dynamics of living in a community that is smelter based as a main supporter and employer in our community. So it was outstanding, and Mayor Jones will share, I'm sure, the rest of the other couple days of the tour. That's all from my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Hansen? Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. Just a little update from the RAKV. The new garbage collection program is slated to start on Monday, October 2nd. Each house is to receive 1 80-liter curbside bin and a kitchen tote. Delivery of these is scheduled for the month of August. GFL, who has a contract, is going to have 4 new trucks ready to go. And your garbage and compost will be picked up at the same time every week, so it's going to be on a weekly basis. And the tags for the bags will be available in local businesses starting September the 1st. An update from the Columbia Pollution Control Center. They've received 3 proposals for the upgrade, with each of the proposals being over 500 pages each, so it's going to take a little bit of time to go through each one, and I'll let you know when they go through that. On June the 15th, I attended a Trail Historical Society meeting. Just a reminder of the 70th anniversary on September the 23rd. And the committee is moving forward with the next steps for the Trail Smoke Eaters stamps. So that's it for my report.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Any questions? Councillor Benson?
Can you tell us what will the kitchen totes look like for the new garbage?
They're just little tiny ones that can go, like the
Just a
small ones.
counter? Okay.
Then the big garbage ones will be just an 80-liter, like a regular garbage can size.
Okay. And then does the stuff in the tote go into the can, and then the bags for the garbage?
I'll have more information as it gets closer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay. On to Councillor Wilson.
Nothing to report, Your Worship.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. My report, I'll try not to duplicate because I know that we've all been in a lot of places at the same time. So here goes. So June the 14th, along with CA A.O. McClure, Councillor Butler, and Cashel. I did chair the RCMP meeting. Just a couple of things that I wanted to add to that. It is their 150th anniversary this year, so they are doing, you know, the horse rides in some communities, and doing some other celebrations. So it's good to recognize the work that they've been doing in our communities. Staffing levels are still below the complement and are of a concern. And Sergeant Wasenowicz did explain that there is hopefully coming a new recruit in the fall, and some work is being done to have some of the officers back to work from sick leave. So they're working towards getting, you know, their complements back up. Recruitment continues to be an issue, and both the federal and provincial government are making it a priority. And we actually spoke to them, Councillor Cashel spoke about the decriminalization, and I don't think I have anything to add to that, but we asked them what we could do for them. Going to the UBCM, can we speak up for them? You know, what, if we get in front of the minister, is there something we can do to help out? And they said, yes, you know, just keep asking for their, you know, complement levels to come back to normal. Let's see if we can get more officers here, and that's the best we can do for them at this point. We spoke to them about the bylaws as well, and Sergeant Bernred did say that, you know, if the bylaw reflects that the RCMP can help our bylaw officers, that makes it easier for them to do the work if our bylaw officers aren't there at the time. But they have to be recognized in the bylaws. So that's something that I wanted to bring forward for staff to know if we're looking at changing our bylaws. And as Councillor Cashel reported, Sergeant Wasenowicz will be back in September, back to reporting regularly, which has been delayed because of COVID. The supportive housing on June the 14th. I do want to thank Councillor Hanson for taking the opportunity to tour the supportive housing facility in Kelowna and bringing that information back to council. That was a great report. Councillor Hanson, the chair of the housing committee, I've also requested that she sit on the supportive housing committee as per Councillor Cashel's request and suggestion, and I think it's actually a very good fit for our community and for council. The group, the supportive housing group is still working with BC Housing to firm up a possible shelter site, and we look forward to hearing back from BC Housing soon. Also, we learned that Interior Health is hiring an area coordinator, and unfortunately, at this time, we also have lost funding for 2 outreach nurses, which we desperately need on our streets, considering you know, the crisis that's been going on in the last week downtown and continues to go on, but we're looking at different avenues to get this funding back. June the 19th, I traveled to Creston for our first AGM with the new board of the Association of Kootenay Boundary Local Government. We had a really good discussion on some of the issues that came forward from convention and how we're going to streamline some of the work of the board. Sorry, oh, that's embarrassing. So what's important to notice here is that we found that the resolutions, when you're calling for them in the fall and trying to get them in before the deadline, it gets very, very busy for staff. So we're trying to find a way where we can send in the resolutions to the association yearly. Whenever they come up at council, if a situation comes up, then we can send the resolution in and we can get the work done on it piece by piece and not all at once. So we're, yes, looking at, we really think that'll streamline and get more of the resolutions to the association to bring forward to UBCM. We're also looking at the ability of advanced voting, because quite often, and we've found in the past when members are leaving the convention, they sometimes leave early Sunday, try to leave to beat the weather. And so we are hoping that we can get a the ability to do advanced voting before the end of, the elections and, just so everybody can have a fair vote. Also, we committed to the next convention to be in Radium in 2024. And I will bring more information forward on that as it becomes available. I don't know if council remembers when we were at the Association of Kootenai Boundary Local Government Convention in Cranbrook, everybody was talking about regional collaboration and the CAOs, and so we did have an opportunity to have our first meeting, the mayors and the CAOs and a couple of the regional district directors and staff. We did meet and we had our first initial meeting and it was good. We talked about things that we wanted to bring forward. Sort of just, sitting around having a conversation, but it's something that we're looking forward to doing in the future. We hope to keep these kind of meetings going forward. It's important to talk about issues in each of our communities, and I mean, what's happening in our community is happening in other communities, and we just sort of got together to talk about common things that are happening in our region. We are planning on getting everyone together. We can get all the councils together and just have a meet and greet as well, so we all know each other, and that's all part of the collaborating and working together too. So I will be bringing more information about that forward when it comes available. June the 17th, I did the opening remarks for National Indigenous Day at Gyro Park, and joined in the friendship circle. They had a lunch of bannock and fry bread and all their cultural foods, and just, tables set up with their crafts and jewelry. It was just a really nice day and a really good turnout. There was, it was a really good turnout at Gyro Park. So next I went on to the West Kootenai Car Show. Over 200 cars were on display, and I was asked to choose the car for the Mayor's Choice Award. So that was lots of fun, but so many cars and beautiful cars. It was a really very difficult choice because I didn't want to disappoint anyone. But I ended up picking a beautiful 1936 Plymouth PT Coupe, a white one, and it had the back seat where you can climb in the back, and it was, really cute. They were happy and excited that I picked them, but there is such a difficult choice to make. Councillor Hanson did touch on the tour of tech in our community with ministers of environment, interior health, and the Minister of Health. And the purpose of these meetings really was to get them to understand the local context. For those working in Victoria proposing activities in trail, they might not understand what actually is going on in trail because there's been a lot of new ministers and a changeover. So we did a lot of knowledge sharing through, between the ministries, and it was a really good turnout. There was lots of conversation. There was a lot of commitment from the provincial ministries of environment and health with the respect to trail and tech and the impacts that tech has on our community. But I have to say that the community came out, and then lots of members of the Trail Health and Environment Committee, and it was really good to get that knowledge, to the ministers as well. They had a great time touring, the museum and library. Some of them took time to do that. We went through walks through Gyro and looked at different property there that was in the process of being remediated. It was just a really good meeting to share our knowledge and show them what our community was about. So we are hoping to get together online in September to talk about how we move forward and what do we have to change to make things better. June 3rd, as Councillor Cashwell reported, I did meet with Dr. Sue Pollock, Melissa Klein, Councillor Benson, Councillor Cashwell, Tammy McLean, and we toured the shelter and the surrounding area together. I don't know, Dr. Sue Pollock had not seen the shelter before, so that was great to show her. June 23rd, I attended the J. Lloyd Crow graduation ceremony and presented a message to all the grads. I was pleased to present Arlen Price and Emily Hansma with the City of Trail Awards, and the Neil Poloni Memorial Scholarship went to Kyle McGinnis. And so also want to remind everyone, July 1st is Canada Day, and there's a big celebration at Gyro Park, and that's my report. Any questions or comments? No? Thank you. So, any new business? Bring forward. No? Okay, thanks everyone. So the next item on the agenda is adjournment. Can someone make that motion? Councillor Wilson, Councillor Martin, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thanks everyone.